Okay, folks, we're going to be doing a Christmas ride, and every year, every other year, I'll do a public service announcement on the dangers of Santa Claus. So please don't tell your kids about Santa. You could lead them to be an atheist. So I'm going to tell you a funny story, and then actually very cold in California. Go ahead. Okay. Very Christmassy out here. So when I first came to YouTube, I used to be an atheist and then I became a Christian, right? So I started doing these videos on Christianity. Now, what I'm going to tell you is going to seem funny at first, like it's a joke, but I'm totally 100% serious. So, let's get some air in here. So, I started doing these like Bible study videos and stuff like that, and then atheists would actually respond to me and they would say, well, I bet you believe in Santa. I closed the visor because you won't be able to hear me when we pick up speeds. We're going to get on the freeway. It's going to be awesome. So at first I was like surprised, like, man, these atheists are obsessed with Santa Claus. And then I started doing a study on this. I started realizing there's a link, I'm not making this up, I'm going to prove it to you, between atheism and Santa Claus. It's called Santa Syndrome. So, at first, I didn't think there was anything to it. I thought it was just a coincidence that atheists were saying, like I talked about God, and then they would say, well, I bet you believe in Santa also. I'm like, that's weird that they would say that. And look at this beautiful car. Wow. So then I started doing a study, and you could see my video studies on this. Just type in Santa Syndrome. I'll tell you how to spell Santa Syndrome. It's S-Y-N syndrome. S-Y-N-D-R-O-M-E. Santa Syndrome. So, all right, we're going to get on the freeway. I got to turn over here, and then we're going to get back on the freeway here and pick up some speed. So, let's go over here. So check this out. Here we go. Okay, so I started video recording atheists and their responses, how they would equate God with Santa Claus, and this fascinated me. It became an obsession to find out the reason why atheists are so obsessed about Santa Claus. And I noticed when I would talk about God, they would talk about Santa Claus. Now, you know, Santa is a contingent being, so it doesn't make sense to equate Santa Claus with God. And you know the history of Santa Claus. It was a story made up by the Coca-Cola company, and they would use it in their ads and stuff. But then what happened, people started telling their kids about Santa. They started, how you doing, brother? They started telling their kids about Santa. And some of these kids, when they found out there was no Santa, it's okay, go ahead. It really traumatized them. And
it leads to atheism. I can prove it. I could document it. Look at the videos I'm putting below here, or just type a simple search on YouTube, Santa Syndrome. See, here's what happens. This is why I'm doing this public service announcement. I do not want parents to lie to their kids and tell them that they're Santa, because they're going to grow up to be atheist. Do you know most kids that are atheist, and most atheists are kids, it happened after they found out there was no Santa. It traumatizes their little lives so much. By the way, we go over here and see something.
Aha. I like to check out these motorcycles here. This one guy has an H2, but it's not here. Let's do a UE. It traumatizes these little kids so much that they then start doubting God. Well, if my parents lied to me about Santa Claus, and it traumatized them so much, it hurt them so much.
When they found out the harsh reality of the non-existence of Santa Claus, that it triggers something so painful in their childhood that there's never any sport bikes there, darn it, except that one time there was that H2 Kawasaki. It traumatizes them to where they become an atheist. I'm telling you, parents, do not lie to your kids and tell them they're Santa Claus. You know, I think a lot of the parents that say that they're Santa Claus, they're not Christians. They're sort of irreligious, like, yeah, they believe God exists, they say they're Christians, but they're not really full-on, full-fledged, born-again Christians, because the real Christmas story is so much more awesome. And as a matter of fact, I'll share the real Christmas story with this video. What a great idea. What a great idea. So, but Santa syndrome is real. Let me summarize it for you. See, when a child with his brain full of mush is told by the people he trusts the most that there is a Santa Claus by their parents, and then the parents even concoct this story. By the way, this is lane splitting. It is legal in California. I'm right here, I think. Actually, you know what I'll do? I'll give you the scenic route, and then we'll go up to the freeway over here. We'll go to the left over on the freeway. It's going to be a while for the freeway, but I'll tell you the real Christmas story. I'll give you some facts of Christianity and the Christmas story that you thought were true that aren't true, and some things that you never knew were true that are true. Sun's in my eyes. I can't get over here. So, come to YouTube. I start doing these videos. Even in my debates, the atheists would say, well, I bet you believe in Santa. I'm like, this is so weird that this atheist has a knee-jerk reaction. The minute I say God, he starts obsessing. I mean, where it's unhealthy, you guys. He starts obsessing about Santa Claus. It is a disease. Santa syndrome. Now, I have a confession to make. When I first came to YouTube, at first I thought, oh, this is going to be like a funny video. I can talk and type about how atheists are obsessed with Santa. But as I started investigating it more, it became troubling to me that there is a link. See, it's funny, but there is a link between atheism and Santa Claus. So I figured it out. Here's the summarization of Santa syndrome. Little child, his mind full of mush, his parents tell him that there's Santa Claus, and they have so much joy in their life. Here's this person that's going to give them gifts if they do good, you know, and They could actually just, like a genie, it's like a genie Santa. You just tell Santa what you want, he gives it to you. Completely opposite of Scripture. You know how Santa, if you're good, then you get stuff. Christianity is, you can never be good enough to reach God's standard. It's the complete opposite. Something very sinister about this Santa character. So, I started realizing that there is a link between Santa Claus and atheism. And when you tell a little child that there's Santa Claus and there's really no Santa Claus, this is dangerous. This traumatizes their little brains. And they become atheist. Please, I'm literally begging you, parents, don't lie to your children and tell them that they're Santa Claus. Around Christmas time, I'll give this warning to parents: do not lie to your kids and tell them there's a Santa Claus. Santa Claus leads to atheism. Look below this video for my scientific study proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that Santa Claus leads to atheism. You know, when I came to YouTube, I used to be an atheist, and when I came to YouTube, I cannot see this light here with the sun in my eye. I would talk about God, and atheists would have a knee-jerk reaction. Well, I bet you believe in Santa. I'm like, what the heck are they talking about Santa Claus for? That's crazy. It is a disease called Santa syndrome. See, what happens when a little baby, little child, his brain full of mush, is told by his parents that there's a Santa Claus, and then he finds out that the parents lied to him or her, this sometimes triggers, here we go, this sometimes triggers such a traumatic experience in this child that they get the dreaded Santa syndrome. Please, do not tell your children there's a Santa Claus. Look below this video for proof and evidence that Santa Claus leads to atheism. Remember, parents, the next atheist you create could be created because you told your kids there's a Santa. It is a lie. Why not just tell them the true story of Christmas? That God so loved the world that he sent his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. The real story is so much better than the fake one. Don't forget, it's going to be funny, but it's real. Look right below this video and you'll see atheists obsessing about Santa Claus. Santa syndrome, it is a disease, a dreadful disease.